You know, I remember having a skateboard and skate. I was the only one in the Barrio here with a skateboard. It was basically a 2x4 and a skate that I bought at the secondhand store, you know.
No way,
And
you
I banged
nailed
it all
it.
together, and you know. But back then, you get the idea because they had the vegetable boxes, and people had like the bigger, kind of like a scooter, and I remember that. And they said, well, I don't have a box. How do we just put it on a board and then just skate down the street? Because the only place where I had a lot of concrete was the school here, you know. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I remember that quite a bit.
That's cool.
And then the streets went down, so you know, going down on a skateboard, it was a lot of fun, you know. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And then in the barrio that they knocked down over here, there was a street McCormick, and that really went down. And a few times we would have a big tire, and the bravest guy of all of us would get in the middle of the tire, and we'd roll him off, and he, you know, he rolled down. Sometimes, you know, they get hurt and everything, you know, but most of the time it was just scratches and bruises. But that was another memory I had too, you know, of this barrio right here. And then we would go to A Mountain from here, you know, hike up to A Mountain. A couple of times we would take a frying pan and some wood and eggs, and we'd go up there and make a little fire and cook our eggs and tortillas and eat, you know. And then there was an A.J. Bayless right here on the Congress and the freeway. We would go there, and then, you know, we'd buy bread and some bologna, and we'd also go to A Mountain with that, and potato chips, and go up there and just have a good time. You know? It's not there no more, but there was a Chinese grocery store right on the base of A Mountain. And later in life, I would take my two daughters up A Mountain, but we stop at the store to get little apetitos or treats, you know, to take up to the mountain, and we'd climb the mountain and then go up there and eat our little treats that I bought them and everything. So that was a tradition that I kept with my two daughters, you know.
Do you know anything about the Tucson Pressed Brick Company? Do you have any memories?
Oh yeah,
of that
we used to
place?
call them rolling hills, you know. And that's where you go with the bikes, and it was all hilly and everything. And actually, they were like, you know, they weren't gangs. You know, this is later in the mid '60s around there, and the gangs have pretty much subsided into like little groups of people. So Barrio Hollywood had a little group of people with bikes, and then Menlo Park had a little group of guys with bikes. And here we come from Carrillo School or El Hoyo, and we'd go there too, because it was just right here, right after they built the freeway. You know, they pretty much, we wanted to go someplace to ride our bikes and jump up and down and everything, and so we would go there. And then in the bottom of the brick company was a little lake, and they would have a cement like a trowel thing, and whoever was there first would get on the trowel and boat around like pirates, you know. So we would always come last, so we never really got into that. But you know, there were little fights and everything, but you know, it's just rivalries of the different barrios and everything. So yeah, but I remember it vividly. And now there's a big apartment buildings there, and Bob Ballroom was right up the street from there, right on where First Cafeteria used to be, right there. I remember going there to see Ray Camacho and Little Joe, and a lot of the bigger groups would play there. Even jazz groups, that was earlier. Duke Ellington played there, and a few other big jazz groups played there. But yeah, the funny thing is, one time they wouldn't let us in, but I walked in backwards and they didn't catch it, you know. So I told the other guys, and they said, "Estás loco, Pepe," you know. So they thought I was going or coming, and I remember vividly walking in backwards, and they didn't catch it, and so I got in for free, kind of, you know. But the place was already full, you know.
Do you know about the sports complex?
Oh yeah, that too. I saw James Brown there one time, and Hubert Humphrey, I remember, came here when he was running for vice president with Lyndon Johnson, I think it was. That must have been '64, right after the assassination of Kennedy. And then James Brown, we couldn't get in because even back then it was like $275 to get in, and that was big money back in the '60s, you know. But in the end of the show, we stormed the gate. There was like 50 kids outside, you know, just hearing the music on the outside. But for some reason, we all like barged in and got in there for free, and we saw the end of James Brown where they start throwing the shawl over him and everything, you know. Yeah, the cloak and everything. So yeah, I remember seeing him. Yeah, very vividly. And then there was wrestling. I remember Pancho Pico, the Dupree brothers, and Martinez. I can't think of his first name, but there was a few wrestlers that we remember, and And the ones they hated the most were the Dupree brothers, you know, because they were two white guys, right? So
Are they the villains?
the villains, yeah, and they love playing the villain, you know, yeah, yeah, and back then it was only like 50 cents to get in, so that we could afford. I mean, where James Brown was $1.75, $2.75, 50 cents was affordable, you know, and
Yeah.
we bring our own snacks and everything, and sometimes we'd bring little pebbles or something to throw at the Dupree brothers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a good time.